are thinking beings that feel when we are really feeling beings that think. Write that down. We think that we are thinking beings that feel when we are actually feeling beings that think. And keep in mind, these people are being bombarded with, let's say, agents, and now let's say some investors that are reaching out that are looking for something. And if you can connect with people emotionally, I promise you they will stay on the phone longer. 100%, right? So if they're feeling desperate, they're feeling frustrated, they're feeling scared, the opposite of that is hope and certainty. Hope and certainty. So, hey, do you think I can actually get this done, Pace? Absolutely. It is really not a question to me of whether or not you could or couldn't, right? It's really just a question of me figuring out specifically what you're looking to accomplish and then coming up with a game plan to help you to get what you want in the time you want. I guess I'm curious. Notice that is hope and certainty immediately right out of the gate, right? Somebody is aggressive with you right out of the gate. The way that I like to describe this is, imagine if you've ever seen bull riding. Okay. So when you're bull riding or you're watching bull riding, for the first 10 seconds, what does the bull do? Buck.
Yeah.
Almost uncontrollably. But then what happens after 10 or 15 seconds?
They calm down.
He stops. Right. And initially, when you are making this phone call, initially they're going to buck. How'd you get my phone number? Who are you? Why are you calling me? Like that sort of thing. So my goal and objective is to have them to talk to me. I want you to erase in your mind initially, my goal and objective is to get a deal. No, my goal and objective is to discover if they have a need that I can service. Okay. And how am I going to find that out? If they speak to me. That's the only way I'm going to find it out. So if Pace is really aggressive with me and he's like, oh man, how'd you get my phone number? It's like, listen, what I'm aware of is I can tell by the tone in your voice that it wasn't your expectation this morning that you were going to get bombarded with phone calls. I will be sure to take it off my list. Initially, what are they thinking right away? Okay, we're done here. While I have you on the phone, Pace, I guess I'm curious. Your home's lovely. It's in a great geographic area. Great schools. I don't need to tell you that. If you don't mind me asking, when you had originally put it on the market, was there any particular reason you were even considering selling it? Notice my tonality. That's ridiculous. Why would you ever do that? Which is going to cause them to do what? Speak to me. Pace is going to be like, well, we wanted to do this, this, and that. Okay. And listen, first, I appreciate your willingness to share that with me. The more you're willing to share, the better equipped I am to provide you with information that could be helpful or useful in some way. So I'm wondering, is that still something that's important to you, or have things changed forever? When I say have things changed forever, what am I doing? I'm slamming the door shut on that opportunity.
That's so good. Such a great line.
Either a definite yes or a definite no. They're either going to say, well, no, not like forever. Okay, so it sounds like it's something that's still important to you. It's just that you're not specifically clear as to how come it didn't sell or what you need to change to ensure that it does. I guess I'm wondering, how did you happen to pick the agent that you hired to help?
Oh my gosh. It's funny. I've done hundreds of expired listing phone calls. I've never asked that question the way you just asked it.
And what happens, Pace, when you do that, check this out. What am I insinuating is the reason it didn't sell? The agent. Did I come out and say that directly?
No.
No. My tonality infers it. So if you don't mind me asking, gosh, your home's lovely. I guess I'm a little bit confused. Did the previous agent give you any clear, specific reasons as to how come it didn't sell? And they'll be like, well, they blame the market, or they said interest rates are too high. Really? How interesting. I oftentimes notice, Pace, that when homes aren't selling like that, oftentimes what agents will do is they'll blame the market, they'll blame interest rates, things of that nature. I'm wondering, though, you strike me to be someone who has a lot of common sense. You seem to understand this process pretty well. What do you feel like they should have been doing? So you could do something simple, which is to get it sold and make the move to Kansas. Be quiet. Now, what are they going to complain about?
The agent and all the problems.
And all the reasons why they sucked and all the reasons why. And you're like, yeah, I agree with you. Wait, so let's say they start to tell me, they're like, well, they didn't call me. They didn't give me updates. I will interrupt them. Robin, wait a minute. Time out. You mean to tell me they weren't calling you every week with a specific update, letting you know how come it's not selling and what you need to change to ensure that it does? No. Wow. Well, let me be the first to tell you, you definitely deserve better service than that.
What's interesting? I had a buddy that crushed it in high school, just picking up girls, and his lines sounded very similar to this.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You mean to tell me your boyfriend didn't call you and tell you this, that, and the other? He didn't say this. He didn't do that. Oh my gosh. Wow. Guys,
Yeah.
half of you guys have been doing this your whole life. In fact, you probably landed your wife this way.
That's right.
God, bro, this is money. Keep going.
It
I don't
is.
want to interrupt. I'm just in the peanut gallery, just enjoying this.
Yeah, it's literally money. It's literally a license to print money if you can learn how to do it effectively and efficiently. So, yeah, and then let's say they're like, well, I felt like they should have done this, this, and this. Yeah, I agree with you, right? And what do you feel like they should have been doing? They're like, well, I feel like they should have been more aggressive and more proactive. Yeah, 100%. So let me ask it this way, because my job is to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Time out. Most people are so overly attached to an outcome that they have commission breath or assignment breath, or, you know what I'm saying? It leaks out in your tonality, in your choice of words, in the rate of speech, like all of that, and it becomes repulsive. How many people besides me have ever been in the presence of somebody that you knew that they wanted something from you? They didn't come out and tell you, but they could feel it.
Oh, bro, it's just seeping out of their pores. I can smell it like cheap cologne.
All right. And what's so fascinating, I want everybody on this call to recognize something, okay? We all speak another language. We just don't talk about it. Communication is only 8% of the words that are coming out of my mouth. It's 50% like body language, 18% tonality, right? It's a small fraction. So when people come to me, they're like, hey, I want to learn what to say and how to say it. I'm like, I can teach you that. But there's this other language that we have to learn. And when I say to you, like, listen, my job's to help you, Pace. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Immediately, what am I demonstrating? I am completely unattached to this outcome. Whatever you decide to do is fine. Right? Versus what other people are doing, like, oh, please, 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 let's meet. Let's meet. Let's meet. Let's do a deal. Let's meet. Right? So you'll totally stand out by doing that. And so my job's to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. Let me ask it this way. If you had an offer that was very reasonable, very acceptable to you, in the next maybe 30, 60, 90 days that would allow you to still make this move to Texas happen, do you think you would still sell the home? Be quiet. You'd be like, well, yeah, I probably would. Great. Well, just by you saying that demonstrates that we should get together and discuss the options. That's neuro-linguistic programming. Just by you saying that demonstrates that we should get together and discuss the options. May I make a suggestion? Be quiet. When I ask, may I make a suggestion, what am I asking permission to do? Who can tell me? I'm asking permission to close. You be quiet, and it might take 20, 30 seconds, and it seems like a lifetime. You're just quiet, sitting there. And then you know what they'll say to you? I'm listening. Or they'll be like, go ahead, Pace. Or they'll be like, you can make a suggestion, but I don't know if I'll do it. Right? You just have to shut up long enough for them to say it. Now they're giving you permission to proceed. Right? They say, well, go ahead. Yeah, I mean, make a suggestion. Well, based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, I'm hearing a couple things very clearly. The first one is you still want to make the move to Texas happen. The second thing I'm hearing from you is really through no fault of your own, because you weren't getting great service. You are not specifically clear as to why it didn't sell and what changes we could make in terms of approach, perhaps creative financing that would allow you to accomplish your goals and objectives. So what I'd like to do is this, and I really wouldn't mind because I'm in your area all the time anyway. I'd love to have the opportunity just to pop by. Notice, how long does pop by sound like?
2 seconds.
2 seconds, bro. Just pop by, take a quick peek. Notice, quick peek. See what it has to offer in person. And what I can do is I can show you a couple things very clearly. Number one, how come it didn't sell? Number two, what we need to change in terms of a more proactive and aggressive approach, including creative financing, that can help you to accomplish your goals and objectives. I could show you a net sheet with the proceeds to be to you and your family you could take with you to Texas. And this way, whatever you decide to do, Brandy, whether you decide to stay put or you decide to move, you'll have
nobody's named Brandy in Fort Lauderdale. They're all Jim and like Beth.
No, I know there's a Brandy here. About? That's why. That's
okay.
Why. So, whatever you decide to do, you'll have all of the information that you need so you can make the decision that you feel is best for you and your family. Notice how many U's are in there. How many I's? 0. Most people are so egotistical, like, well, don't you know who I am? I don't know if you know, but I did all of these. Guys, can you imagine if you went to the donut shop and you asked for a donut? They're like, I don't know if you're aware of this, Brandy. I am the biggest donut maker in town. I am such a big deal. You'd be like, are you fucking kidding me right now? I asked for a donut. Like, I really don't care. So we have this tendency to lead with authority. Do you know why we lead with authority? Because of insecurity. That's why. That's 100% the reason why. So instead, if you put all of your focus on the client, right? And I just gave you something that's very easy to say yes to. I could show you these couple of things. Does that sound reasonable? Does that sound fair to you? And they might, then from there may be objections. Well, I need to speak to my wife first or whatever. Okay. Well, look, I want you to speak to your wife because it's a big decision. You want to make sure you make the best decision possible. I guess I'm curious. I mean, when you had it on the market in terms of this move, I can hear in your voice that you still want to make this happen. How does she feel about it? Oh yeah, she's still pumped. She's the reason we put on the market. Interesting. So if she knew that there was somebody who could shed some light on the situation, show you clearly and specifically what you would need to do in order to make it happen, I have to imagine she would want to speak to them, wouldn't she? Notice it's programmed into me. No, you see what I did when I said that? She would want to speak to them, wouldn't she? And it comes out of my tonality.
For just a second, a couple of comments in the side comments, right? There's a point where I've made thousands and thousands and thousands of seller calls for creative finance deals. And people come to me and they go, dude, nobody's better on seller calls about creative finance. And I go, yeah, it didn't start that way. You get to a point where you own the information so much. Like Aaron owns this information, guys. He owns it because he's practiced this so many times. And you guys are over here saying, man, Aaron just lets this flow like butter. Guys, he's practiced this like a gangster over and over and over. Aaron, have you ever stuttered? Have you ever screwed up? Have you ever made a blunder in a point where you're like, crap, I screwed up. You go home, you make a note, and then you go back and you try it again.
Yeah. So here's what I would suggest to anybody who's saying that. The first thing is you get rewarded in public for what you spend countless hours doing in private. Countless. Somebody said they DM me. They're like, wow, man, that sounds real dope. I'm like, yeah, you know what it takes? Nauseating, disgusting amounts of practice.
Yeah.
That most people aren't willing to do. So the first calendar year selling real estate, guys, I made $13,000. I'm curious. Do you think Pace would bring me on his group to share with you guys precisely how I made below the poverty line?
No.
Nobody was there hanging out with me while I'm standing in my crops chanting, hi, I was calling about the home that's for sale up in industries. This is the owner. Great. My name's Aaron. I'm a local real estate agent. Sure, figured out by now. Like nobody was there doing that. Nobody was there while I was hand writing out scripts by hand. Nobody was there when I was filming myself. You want to do something really fun? Do this. You ready? Film yourself talking to somebody. Sit down with your significant other with a bottle of wine and they'll be like, this is going to be entertaining. Okay. Because I'm probably going to verbally vomit. You're like, what the hell was I doing? Like, what was I saying? That's how you get better. Then you know what I did? I got proximity to agents. I was doing 50 deals a year. I started role playing with a guy doing 200. How many, let me ask you guys a question. If you're serious about this, how many people do you role play with that you're actually intimidated to practice with them?
We have 4 hours of role playing every morning in this community with people that are like doing 200 deals a year. And it is something we force them into because I believe in that more than anything else. But still, even though they have we call it the daily dial. So we have 2 hours East Coast, 2 hours West Coast. Okay. And even though it's there, people are so intimidated. Here's one of our best closers, Aaron. This is a great story. His name is Munif. He comes in, joins our community, and he joins the daily dial, just one of 31 Zooms we do every single week. And he's picking up a fake phone call with somebody that he's role playing with who's a fake seller. And the person who he's role playing with is doing 200 deals a year, right? Munif picks up a fake phone call, his first daily dial, and hangs up the fake phone call because he's so damn scared. He then goes on, doesn't give up, keeps doing the role playing, shows up every single day, and 6 months later, he wins our entire industry's Closers Olympics, wins the belt. Quits his job as an engineer. An engineer by trade became a great closer. So
love it.
Keep going about this because I love this topic. I love this.
Yeah, and what I'm aware of is it's volume over time. It's V over T. So like once I figure out what's the thing to stack my time on top of. So as everybody on this call is hardworking, ambitious, and smart. Would you agree with that?
I would say yes.
Yeah. So when people are hardworking, ambitious, and smart, you have to be very thoughtful about what you choose to stack your time on top of. It took me a long time to figure out focus, like a long time. And that first calendar year when I only made $13,000, I didn't know what to focus on because people were giving me the wrong information. So if I was to ask you guys this question, knowledge equals, everybody will tell me power. I don't care where I am on the planet. I don't care if I'm United States, if I'm abroad, everybody will say that. Okay, now check this out. If knowledge equals power, what happens if you have the wrong knowledge? That's problematic. So at the beginning of my career, I had the wrong knowledge. They weren't teaching me this is a sales business, like selling books door to door, knives door to door, subscriptions over the phone. I didn't know where to spend time. But then I realized the money's not in the service, guys. The money's in the selling of the service. It's not in the service. It's in the selling of the service. They expect good service, guys. They expect you to know what you're doing. They expect you to know how to read contracts. They expect, okay, when you go to Whole Foods, do you jump up and down because they have groceries? Or you're like, oh my God, they have groceries today. Like, no, you expect that from them, correct? That is the expectation. So instead, the money's not there. The money's in the selling of the service, knowing how to sell the service. So once I got that, I was like, oh, that's what I should be stacking my time on top of. And then I got obsessed. Role play twice a day, 6 days a week for 3 years. Handwriting out scripts every single day, chanting, videotaping myself, recording myself and sending it to a coach so they can give me feedback. Reading, look, are you a serious student? If I was to look at your library, you're a serious student of sales and persuasion. How many books have you read on NLP? How many books have you read on persuasion? How many, are you a serious student of the craft? Because I want everybody on this call to realize, okay, this is no different than playing a violin really well. It is no different than using a scalpel really well. It is a absolute learnable skill. And in a capitalistic society, if you learn how to sell, you will be disproportionately rewarded for your efforts. But it's just that very few people are willing to put in the time to actually get really, really good at it.
Yeah, somebody spent the whole day following me around today, and they said, how did you get to the level you're at? And I said, I did the invisible things. I lived in the invisible for years to the point where I owned the information at a high level. I went to every appointment. I'm not an agent, but as an investor, and I recorded every single appointment on my voice memos, and I would listen to it on my drive home, and I would just grit my teeth listening to how poor I did it. The pauses, the lack of pauses, when she asked a question, I was so in my mind about the next thing that I was going to say that I didn't shut the hell up and let the seller speak to me. And so now when you guys watch me on my seller calls, you'll go, I don't recognize this pace, because I become a completely different person when I'm in a sales appointment, because it's a skill that was refined and refined and refined through the invisible work that nobody was there for. Nobody was applauding you. I was talking to Ed Milet behind stage a couple of days ago, and he says, that was the best presentation I've seen in 5 years. And I go, yeah, too bad it took me 900 of them to get that compliment. It took me 900 to get that compliment. He goes, you finally own it. And sadly now you're probably going to go and change it because you're bored with it. And I was like, no. I understand professionals. I understand the Dave Chappelles. I understand the Adeles. They spend years and years and years and years to write a perfect song, to then spend the rest of their life belting out that song as if it's the first time they've ever said it. So what I love about Aaron is that Aaron wrote that song almost like Adele, right? That script was not something that somebody printed out to him and said, here, memorize this. Now you can listen to the script and you can go and refine it with your own personality. But what Aaron did is he went into these appointments, he did the things, he worked with other mentors, he did the things. Then once you own the information, you didn't go back and reconstruct the wheel. You pretend every time you are on a sales call, whether it's a phone call or in person, you pretend like it's the first client you've ever spoken to. You give them that same love, that same feeling as if you've never said those words before in your entire life.
Yeah, 100%. And I wrote down a couple things like as you're speaking. One is Mark Twain said it takes 20 years to be prepared for an impromptu conversation. Like I've been doing this a long time. I've been selling real estate for like 18 years, 2,000 homes sold. Right. So it's just reps. The second thing I wrote down is that everybody that I know that has produced very favorable outcomes, they've all gone through a Rocky cutscene. So if you've ever seen the movie Rocky, and I know I'm dating myself, some of you guys saw the new one with Jordan, right? You don't even know the one with Stallone. But like, if you've ever seen that, there's a cutscene where for like a portion of the movie, he's training to fight. He's punching the stuff in the freezer. He's running up the hills and everything. And for everybody, that cutscene, it might be a year. For some people, it's 3 years. For me, it took me 5 years to get up to 100 transactions a year. Everybody I know goes through it though. And you have to be willing to say to yourself, like, okay, that's cool. Like, I am going to lay myself at the altar of this particular skill set. You will have everything of me: blood, sweat, tears, time, energy, everything. And if you're willing to do that, then it's just volume over time. Now it's just a matter of time if I keep putting forth. So the reason why people don't produce outcomes that they want or acquire skills that they want, they drastically underestimate the volume of activity over an unreasonable amount of time. Unreasonable amount of time, where most people would stop. If you work at something for 10 months and make $13,000, most people stop.
Yeah.
If you have 42 episodes of a podcast with only 200 subscribers, most people stop. They just don't keep going. And for those of you that are willing to keep going, the rewards are disproportional. Now, the other thing I'll share with you on a mastermind call today that I shared with the group is that well done is better than well said. And here's what I mean by that. We get a fake dopamine hit by telling people what we're going to do. You go, oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to make my calls. I'm going to role play. And this is like, you actually feel a little good as though you did it. I promise you, you didn't.
Yeah. I call it mental masturbation.
Yeah, 100%. So the thing, like talking about the thing is not the thing. Thinking about the thing is not the thing. Telling the people that you're going to do it's not the thing. Putting on a dream board is not the thing. The thing is the thing. That is it. And the only way to acquire this is through repetition is the mother of learning and the father of action, which makes it the architect of accomplishment. I just have to put in the reps. You know what? Hey, check this out, guys. I would love to be Diesel Edward if I could outsource push-ups to people in the Philippines. That'd be dope.
Sick.
Be sick. I could have all of them work out and I'd get like ripped. That'd be awesome. That's not how it works. And nature doesn't reward need. Everybody else called needs a deal. How many animals in the animal kingdom need to eat? All of them. Which one get to eat? The ones that deserve it. The ones that hunt every day. Because can you imagine the lioness who do all the hunting, by the way, the men just sit around, but the lioness who kills an animal once, almost every day of the year. You know, 9 out of 10 times the gazelle gets away, according to National Geographic. Why do you think that is? It's a difference in motivation. The lion just wants to eat. The gazelle's running for its life. So 9 out of 10 times it gets away. So to get that one scene where the lioness gets him, they got to film. They got to wait for a while because 9 out of 10 times it gets away. But here's the situation. Can you imagine the lioness running in the Sahara? It's hard. It's hot. Running, galloping after that gazelle, and it gets away. Can you imagine him looking at the sky, her looking at the sky and be like, that's not fair. I tried so hard. I woke up early. I watched David Goggins. I journaled. I did my meditation prayers. You should send me a consolation prize, a little baby gazelle for my efforts. Guys, that is not how that shit works. If you want to see how it really is, just look at nature. That'll tell you how it actually is. Not the way we think it is, the way it should be. That'll tell you how it actually is. Do you know what's true about that lioness? If she wants to eat, she wants her cubs to eat, she has two choices. One is suck her thumb and starve to death. The other is start hunting again. That's it. There's no other options. So imagine if you adopted that mindset. Right? We get all upset when people call us names our mom didn't give us. I walk into rooms regularly. I'm like, I wonder how many people call me a name that my mom didn't give me. And they don't even know it. They insulted me. They hung up on me. They called me a sleazy salesperson. Like, okay. I remember being in a room. I was like, hey, guess what? I made 7,000 contacts this year. I got 142 people to say yes. Most people can't put up with all the other no's. And I would understand if they were family members telling you invited them to dinner and they're like, no, Rick, these are strangers you're never going to see again. So that's like the mindset that we have to have when we approach this. And then the second thing that I think is critically important, because we gave you a little like what to say and how to say it, but the second thing I think is critically important is your approach. So ask yourself a question. Is my intention to take or is my intention to serve? That sounds like verbal gymnastics, but intention is like a colorful dye. So if I took red food coloring, right, and I dropped it into water, what would happen as I drop more drops in? It starts to change colors. Eventually it'll turn red. First it's pink, then it gets darker and it gets red. Guys, the same thing is true with intention. You can't hide it unless you're a sociopath. If your intention is to take, it'll leak out in your tonality. It'll leak out in your facial expressions. It'll leak out in your posture. It'll leak out in your choice of words, your rate of speech. You can't hide it. So what is my intention? Is my intention to prove myself right? That I'm smarter than you, that I'm better than you, right? Is my intention to prove myself worthy? I see a lot of people do that shit, which is why you verbally vomit all the time and talk about yourself. Or is it to serve? Or is it to, try to be of assistance in some way? And if you do that, I promise you'll stand out.
Bars, brother, bars. Back to expired listings.
Yep.
I mean, this has all been about expired listings. As an agent, you're trying to get a listing primarily is what you guys are trying to do, right? I don't want a listing.
Correct.
If a seller needs a listing, I'm going to refer him to an agent that I'm doing business with, right? I don't want to do the listings. I'm not an agent. I'm not smart enough to be an agent. Not really. I mean, I could be a great agent. It's just not the lane I chose, right?
Hey, he's like, hey, that's too much. Yeah, no, I'm good.
I'm like, oh man, why did I say that? Damn it. Anyway, so when you guys are reaching out to these sellers, your primary objective is to get a listing.
Correct.
What are they primarily blaming that previous agent for? Is it the price of the house? Is it they should have said this? Is it, I hear this a lot when I'm talking to sellers, they say the agent wasn't doing any open houses, which is, I'm like, that open houses don't sell the house that they do open houses for, like statistically, but I'm not obviously going to say that. What are you hearing the most often, Aaron? What are your students, what are your mastermind students hearing the most often?
Yeah. So one is what you're talking about, which is activities, because the general consumer really isn't clear on what is required to get the home sold, which I really want to tell everybody. And I tell all of our, people that I have the good fortune of being in proximity to. I'm like, guys, if you take a well-priced listing and disappear off the planet and take no pictures and put it in MLS, is it going to sell? 100%.
Yeah.
So it's price number one, price number two, and price number three. That's the real truth, right? At the same time, they're under their perception that there's certain activities that actually lead to a property selling, right? So
you're talking about sellers believe that.
Yes, sellers believe that open house sell homes, even though statistically we know that doesn't work. They believe that putting ads on Facebook sell the home, even though the MLS system is what sells the home. You know what I'm saying? That's the nitty gritty of the business. So truthfully, as a listing agent, my job is to get really good at convincing people that I'm better to put in MLS than somebody else. That's what's really true. Now, what's also
I say this all the time, especially when I'm talking to agents who are trying to be an investor. I'm like, how are you going to set yourself out, right? How are you going to set yourself apart between the agent who already got fired or got let go of, however you want to say that? If you're just going to call them and say, hey, I'm going to list your property. If you're not coming to them with a cash offer, you're not coming to them with a creative finance offer, you're not coming to them with other things, how are you setting yourself apart? What do sellers believe that you are going to bring to the table in that situation?
Yeah. So again, to go back to your initial, activities, a lack of communication because they never hear from the agent.
Bro, what is it about agents and not picking up their effing phones?
Well, it's super interesting because
is this the low barrier of entry conversation again?
It's part of it, but it's also a mental map. So the way I describe this to people is like the value chain, and every business has a value chain. So an example would be, and it's better to understand it first in another industry, and we bring it back to real estate. So like when you go to the doctor, does the doctor greet you at the door?
No.
Who greets you at the door? Reception.
Nobody.
Yeah. Nobody.
You go to the front desk.
Yeah, you go to the front desk. What's the first question they ask you?
Let's see. When was the last time I went to the doctor? Damn, bro. Who are you?
Yeah, okay. Do you have an appointment? What's the second question?
Do you have an appointment? Yeah.
Second question. How are you going to pay for this shit?
Yeah. Do you have insurance? Yeah.
How are you going to pay for this shit is really what they're saying. Do you have insurance? Or are you paying cash? That's it, right? Then once they do that, they hand you a clipboard. What's the purpose of the clipboard? Pre-qualification. Where does it hurt? How long does it hurt? Do you have a history of it hurting? Do you take any medication? Like blah, 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 blah. Have you tried outside the country? Do you have food allergies? All this stuff, right? And it might be an iPad now, right? Because things have changed. It used to be a clipboard. Now it might be an iPad. Then you hand it back and they say the doctor will be with you in a moment, which is a lie. Because that is not true. You wait for 25 minutes. Then do you meet the doctor? No.
They meet like a nurse or somebody else.
Nurse practitioner or physician's assistant. Then what they do is they look at the iPad. They say, oh, I see you're here. You bang on a knee. They pee in your cup. You pee in a cup. They weigh you, whatever. And they sit you down on the little thing that's all not comfortable. And they say, okay, you're here for this, this, and this. The doctor will be in a moment, which is another lie because you wait for 25 minutes. And check out what happens, Chris, is when the doctor, he or she blows in with their little iPad, they're like, oh, nice to see you, Chris. Looks like you're here for this. And then you know what they do? They touch your throat. That's a bill. You go like this. That's a bill. They listen to your ears. That's a bill. You go, that's a bill. They write you a script. That's another bill. And they say, I want you to be back here in a week. I want to check and see how you're doing. Have a nice day. They do that 20 times a day, 10 minutes at a pop. I want everybody on this call to realize something, okay? Those 10 minutes of time pays for the rent, all of the staff, all of the bookkeeping, and a profit. It's the most valuable activity. So that's a long-winded kind of answer to your question, but it's the fundamental reason why, because agents don't realize that their highest valued activity as a salesperson is prospecting, lead, follow-up, go on appointments, negotiate deals. Everybody else, somebody else will be doing something else. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they don't delegate those tasks. So they're doing everything. You know what they're doing? They're greeting you at the door. They're asking you for your insurance. They're giving you the clipboard. They're weighing you. You're peeing in a cup, and they're the doctor. That's why nobody picks up their phone. Where for me personally, I have a listing coordinator, transaction coordinator, a client care coordinator. So the issue is they can't get me on the phone. But the reason they can't get me on the phone, because I'm not going to ask her stupid fucking questions like, well, how old is the roof? I don't know. Make an offer and do an inspection. Well, what do you think they'll take, Aaron? That's a dumb question. You know, I can't answer that question. Right? It's stupid. Like, so I shield myself, and other people may not like it, but like, I'm okay with that. Just like, do you expect when you pick up the phone to call talk to your attorney, do you talk to him right away? Nope. If you want to talk to the doctor right away? Nope.
No. I mean, even my attorney, after 7 years and paying him $10,000 a month on all sorts of stuff, I can text him, but I feel guilty when I do. But that took 5 years to get to that point.
Right. Because those first 5 years, could you do that?
No. No,
not even close. So I think that's the real reason, is because
I think, you know, as an investor, I love that answer. I think you're spot on with that. I think just to add another piece to it is that there's a lot of these undercover agents in the industry that aren't really agents at all. They do 2 or 3 listings. And when you call them on a listing, it's their only listing they've done in 24 months because their cousin or their brother or somebody gave them that listing. And they're at their day job. They're at their 9-to-5 job. And this happens a lot, I think, with real estate agents. So throw those people to the side, which is a significant amount of people I reach out to. That makes a lot of sense. A lot of people just don't know how to delegate. They don't know how to run their business. And when I learned the statistic that 91% of businesses will never do $1 million a year in revenue, whether it's real estate or anything business-wise. I go, oh, that's personal development. That's delegation. That's understanding the most valuable activity that you should be doing. 91% of people on the planet will never understand it. Therefore, 91% of people will always be overwhelmed and never pick up their phone.
Agreed. And what I'm also aware of is that out of like 25 or something like that, 23 million small businesses in the United States, 17 million of them have one employee. So they're like, oh, it's my business. It's like, you don't have a business, bro. You have a job. It's really
or a hobby, maybe.
Or a hobby. And what I'm also aware of is 65% of us grow up in families that live paycheck to paycheck. That's what the statistics are in the United States. So that shapes thinking. So you know what we hear all the time? Money doesn't grow on
trees.
Eat all the food on your
plate.
And a penny saved is a penny
earned,
which is horseshit because it's a penny.
Yeah. And also money does grow on trees if you're a landscaper. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
well, and it's actually paper. So it does grow on trees. So what I'm aware of is that thinking warps, it's a filter that affects our ability to make decisions in business because we think we have to keep all of money and we have to do everything ourselves. And you know what that does? Yeah. It keeps you small. It doesn't allow you to grow and expand.
Yeah. My not that this is about this, but just to add a little layer, I started as a contractor. I was a contractor for 10 years. Open Door, OfferPad, and Zillow were my main clients for a number of years.
Interesting.
Doing $20 million a year in revenue. And I didn't get there, obviously, by myself. But what I did, Aaron, this is really interesting. So my father's a contractor. So, of course, I learned to be a contractor, right? That's what I defaulted into. Mm-hmm. So I start being a construction dude, doing handyman stuff. And then I built into, subcontracting. And I built a significant sized business. And then one day I said, man, I'm doing a lot of these 403k loan deals for these homeowners, right? They're getting construction loans and I'm having to pay for the construction costs out of my line of credit. do the work, and then wait for a reimbursement from the loan officer that has to approve the work and do all these kind of things. So one day I wake up and I go, man, you know what I should do? I should also become a loan officer on top of being a contractor so I can control this little activity. Mm-hmm. I didn't think like, how do I delegate? How do I build my company properly? I wasn't reading the right books. I wasn't getting the right information. But thank goodness that I did this, because here's what happened. I went and became a loan officer. This is about 10 years ago. And I go and work on a gentleman's team. His name's Steve Meixta. Steve Meixta says to me, you can't be on my team unless you have a coach. And I go, okay, fine, sure. I'll have a stupid coach. I'll hire a stupid coach. Now, as a blue collar dude coming from the blue collar background, what do our parents say? You want to make more money? Work harder. Mm-hmm. That's what I learned. Everything. You want something done right? You do it yourself.
Yep.
Everything was ingrained in me, that exact belief, right? So I go, fine, dude, I'll hire this stupid coach. How much is he? He goes, that's literally the first question you're going to ask me is how much is he? Wow, you got a lot to learn, bro. I was like, internally, I was like, kiss my ass.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So I go to the appointment, Aaron, to meet this coach. His name's John Bohm. I go to the appointment. I pull up to the address, which is a Starbucks location. And I'm like, no, there's no way this dude is charging me $500 an hour to meet me at a Starbucks location. I go into this, sit down. In 1 hour, this guy completely changed my life for $500 freaking dollars. Just like, guys, has Aaron given you some amazing bars tonight that changed maybe the way you thought? Okay. So very short, like people that own their information in a very short time frame can change your life, right? It took Aaron thousands of hours to condense this information, to own it, to give it to you guys. So I sit down with John. He gives me homework, Aaron. I come back a month later. I was forced to meet with him, but I was excited. I was giddy, dude. I was giddy to go back and meet with him because he actually changed the way I was thinking. It opened up doors in my brain I didn't even know existed. No wonder why this guy is now the head mindset coach for the Arizona Cardinals. Like, this guy is gangster. I go to my second appointment with him. He stands up when he sees me coming through and he says, get out of here. You're fired. That's how he addressed me at the door. And I said, what the hell are you talking about? And he said, you did not do your homework. What are you talking about? And he says, I can tell by the way you walked in here, the confidence you have in your shoulders. I can tell this, that, and the other. You did not do what I told you to do. You are fired. I don't work with non-action takers, you piece of shit. Oh my gosh. I was like, bro, please. You changed my life. I sit down with him. He says, all right, this is the only time I'm going to give you forgiveness. And what he asked me to do, Aaron, is he said, dude, you're doing in your construction business, you're over here trying to be a loan officer, but you have a construction business that's doing $15 million a year in revenue. And your activity is go and start another business. Why not hire help? You don't even have an admin. So he asked me to hire an admin in my first meeting with him, which I did not do because, again, like you said, Aaron, all of us business owners think we just got to keep all the money ourselves. We've got to hoard this money like a bunch of chipmunks in like the prehistoric cold age. Mm-hmm. And he goes, pull out your damn phone. We're putting an ad out. He forces me to put an ad right there in Starbucks on Craigslist to hire an admin. I hire an admin. Find her the next day. It was the first person that called. I didn't even know how to filter or do any hiring. Now I have 620 employees. So I've learned a lot since this moment in time, obviously. He forces me to hire this lady. This lady, Anna Martinez, ends up being with me for 7 years. She changed my business so dramatically. I bought her a house and then she quit. She's like, I retired. So whatever. But my point is this. Here's what ended up happening. Anna, who ended up getting hired, gets a phone call day 2 working for me that triples my entire business. And people are like, how did she triple your business in 1 month? I go, in 1 month, she tripled my business by picking up the damn phone. Mm-hmm. Because as a contractor, my phone's sitting in my back pocket while I'm doing an estimate, while I'm doing this, while I'm talking to the contractors. Somebody's calling me off my IG. I'm not picking up the phone. Anna picks up the phone and it's open door. And they go, hey, we're a new tech startup. We saw your Instagram. Just want to know if we can pick you up as a client. That was the first time in my life I took home $1 million take home, was because I hired somebody to pick up the damn phone. And if it wasn't for a coach, it wasn't for him forcing me to do it, which is what I really needed, was accountability and somebody forcing me and feeling uncomfortable, I would have gone right back to the way my parents raised me every single day for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
keep the money yourself. Don't delegate. Do it yourself. All that crap.
100%. You would have just went back to previous programming. So the way that I describe this to people, if our bodies are the hardware, our brains are the software. If our bodies are the hardware, our brains are the software. So what Pace got access to through his mentor was new software. And I do believe that you're one relationship away from changing your family tree for the rest of your life. For me, there's been maybe 4 or 5 relationships that's been true for me. 100%, right?
Yeah.
And I also think what's true is he was challenging your standards, Pace. So I tell this story where I was at a mastermind dinner, and there's this guy that's been a mentor for me for 17 years. He's maybe worth 30 million bucks. He's just an agent. He's just done 200 deals a year, like consistently for an extended period of time. No flipping, no other stuff. Just that's what he does. He makes like 4 or 5 million bucks a year, and he has for a very long time. And he's the guy, when I role played, I was doing 50 deals a year and he was doing 200. And we were at a mastermind dinner, and he asked me in front of 7 people, he's like, how much money are you going to make this year? And I was like, I don't know. This is like 8, 9 years ago. I'm like, I don't know, maybe like 500 grand. You know what he said to me, Pace? He said, why do you settle for that? Just like that, in front of everybody. And I was like, what you would expect. Most people you say that around, they're like,
1%. You're in the 1%, Aaron.
Bro, he literally looked at me as like, why do you settle for that? I said, what do you mean? He's like, do you think I work harder than you? I'm like, no. He's like, you should be making $1 million a year. In fact, I feel like I need to buy you dinner. And he did, in front of everybody. Now, 2 things were happening there. One, it was extremely uncomfortable for me because that dinner was like $6,000. It was like, a large percentage of my income for the year. I'd never done anything like that before, right? So I think he sensed that from me, that I was uncomfortable. So he was helping me there. But the second thing he was doing was challenging my standards. And then I remember the first time I called him when I made $1 million bucks. You know what he said to me? Good for you. I want you to really hear me on something. You will never do anything less than that ever again. Or when I was doing a big investment deal and I'm wiring money, you know what he said to me, Pace? He's like, listen, 2 things. The deal's fine. The second thing is, it's not a lot of money. Just do it and move on. Yeah. You're becoming the type of person that you will wire that amount of money. You won't think about it 5 minutes later because you'll be on the next deal, the next podcast, the next speaking event, the next whatever. So having people in your life that can breathe that over you, just like you did, somebody challenge your standards, and then you stepped into that new standard. Now, what this call can be about is challenging your standards around practice, challenging your standards around, okay, so in the MLS system in South Florida, when I was, selling 180, 200 homes a year, I think it was 2019, I was the #1 agent out of 20,000 agents, #1 listing agent out of 20,000 agents in the multiple listing service. But check this out. There's only 100 agents that do more than 20 million in volume, Pace, out of 20,000. So the interesting part about that is that mediocrity scales. So you have to make a decision. Do I want to be part of the mediocre many or the fantastic few? Now, what's really happening is you have 20,000 agents competing, Kyle, for 100 jobs. So if that's what's really true, which it is, what would your practice schedule look like?
Kobe
what would your
Bryant.
role play schedule? Yeah,
Kobe
bro.
Bryant.
What would your role play schedule look like? What time would you wake up in the morning? What would you be doing with your body? What would you be putting into it? What would you be putting into your head? Right? Like, what would your day look like? Would you be like, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do today. I think I'm going to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. What I loved about Saban was like, these kids these days, whether you like or hate Saban, that guy knows how to win. And he was like, look, these kids these days, what's funny to me? They think they have options. You don't have any options if you want to be great. There's no options. You do the same thing all the time. That's it, without exception. So, if anything, it can go in any world. It can be in the investing world. It could be like in your business, like taking a next step. It could be just mastering the craft of calling expired listings. But you have to make a decision. Do I want to be part of the mediocre many or the fantastic few? And if I'm going to compete for those 100 jobs, what does my schedule look like? What does my role play schedule look like? How serious am I about learning this craft and this conversation?
Amazing. So, expired listings. You're calling expired listings. You did 75 expired listing deals out of 100 in one of your years. So obviously this is your number one list that you enjoy calling. People underneath you in your brokerage or on your team, is that the number one source of where they're getting their listings right now?
Well, here's what was true for me. So that was the number one source. When I did that was like 2010 or 11, or it actually was 9 or 10. And at that time, there was a record number of expired listings, more expired listings than in human history, because you have to keep in mind the context of what was happening in the marketplace, which was we had the opposite of what we went through to 2020, 2021. 40% of all the homes for sale in Florida were foreclosures. Prices were going down 30%. So there was a ton of expireds.
Bro, I was a contractor this time. Oh my word. This world, it was almost like we were in a movie. It was insane. 40% of listings were foreclosures.
Yeah. And I was being told like, hey bro, you need to call expired. So that happened to be very good advice for that particular time. Because people hear me say, now I did 75 deals out of 100, they were expired. It's like, how do you do that? We don't even have enough expired listings. Well, it's based on the context. But then what happened was 2010, 11, 12, what happens in the marketplace gets better. What happens to expired listing space?
Compress.
They shrink. So I was doing 100 plus deals a year. And for 90 days, banging my head against the wall, I'd like to say I was very mature, Edward, and was like, things are changing. I think I need to shift my approach. That is not what happened. I slammed my head against the wall until I realized there's not enough deals for me to continue to grow. Now, I don't know about you guys. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation, personally or professionally, where you say the following: this is unacceptable to me. I do not know what the way is, but I'm going to either find the way or make the fucking way. Anybody besides me ever been in that situation before?
100%.
Personally or professionally. And that's the experience that I had. I don't know what the way is, but I will not do less. It is unacceptable to me. Now, serendipitously, as soon as I got to that conclusion, there's a saying, I forgot the quote fully, but it's like, once you make a decision, providence moves too. I had to look up what providence was. And providence is like divine energy. So once you make the suffix "ide," you know what it means, guys? You know what it means, Adam? It means to kill. Homicide, suicide, pesticide, genocide. It means to kill off other options. Most people don't decide. You know what they do? They fuck around. I'll dabble. If it works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Right, Carol? That's what they do. They dabble. Oh, I'll take this course and I'll screw around with it and I'll show up on the calls. We'll see what happens. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, okay. They didn't decide. Right? So I decided this is not acceptable to me. And serendipitously, what it says is providence moves too. A buddy of mine's like, hey, bro, I just got this probate course. I'm doing this mastermind. You want to check it out? Sure. He gives me access to the course. I start watching it. I live in Heaven's Waiting Room, Pace, South Florida. Largest elderly population in the country. You know what's market resistant and never changes? People dying.
Yeah, probate.
So within 5 months, Pace, I stopped calling. I shrunk the amount of time I'm calling expires, increased the amount of time of probates. 3 months in, I'm taking 4 to 5 listings a month. And then 5 years later, it's 50% of my business and I'm an expert. So what I'm with agents, the thing with expireds is you have to blow through it. Okay, if they're expired, there's a reason, guys. Either the agent wasn't good or they're not motivated. Like, those are the only reasons. Either the agent wasn't good at what they do, or they're motivated by price, or they're not motivated to actually get it done. Right? So I have to blow through a lot of them to find those people that are both motivated and still want to get it done. And they have a motive to take action. That's what the word motivation to means. Motive to take action, a reason for doing something. Right? If they say like, hey, I just want a bigger yard for my dog, Robin. No, that's not sufficiently motivated. Right? It has to be like, no, like, we're downsizing, or my husband got a job, or we just had a baby we weren't expecting, or I can't do the stairs anymore. There has to be like a life event of some sort. So the deal with probate is that 65% of those homes are owned free and clear statistically. And if there is motivation, it's through the roof. They very much so want to sell. So I made that pivot, Pace, and in my residential resale business, those final, like, let's say 3 or 4 years that I was like heavily in production, I didn't even call expireds anymore. Probates became the main source, just because, okay, if I get my skill set to a really high degree, the blue ocean strategy, there's red oceans and there's blue oceans. Red oceans is where there's lots of sharks in the water and there's lots of blood. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm a great white. I can push in with all the other sharks and get my unfair share. You know what I would rather do, though? I'd rather swim in a blue ocean where there's not that much sharks and there's not that much blood in the water. And to me, that source was a blue ocean, because very few agents mess with it, because it requires a higher level of understanding of the legal aspect of things. And it also requires a higher level of emotional intelligence, which most people don't have, right? And there's not that many people calling. You know who was reaching out to them? Investors, but they only mail. They don't really call.
Yeah. They're lazy.
I could list 60 to 70 of them a year.
That's the first 4 years I was in business, Aaron, I did direct mail and PPC, everything was inbound. And I had to pivot big time because I scaled to a point where I was doing 10 deals a month. Good amount of them were wholesale. I was fixing and flipping one or two and then holding one or two. And using a lot of creative finance, and I was dominating through creative finance because nobody was willing to understand the numbers or how to explain it simply to a seller, right? And that became my unfair advantage. That became my blue ocean. But I had to pivot because I go, how do I build a team only on 10 deals a month when you're a wholesaler and I'm spending, my cost per contract was the number one KPI that I was tracking at the time. When you're spending money on direct mail, it's the lazy man approach, but it's a very expensive way to go.
Yeah.
Right. So my cost per contract to do a wholesale deal, you know, my assignment fee was $15,000, but my cost per contract was $5,000 to $7,000 in marketing expenses. But when I realized that nobody was calling these people, oh my gosh, my cost per contract went to like $300.
That's exactly right. So, and what came up for me is, it's a very interesting, similar kind of thing. So I heard a quote recently that I thought was really interesting. That is if you're a shitty marketer, you have to become a rock star salesperson. So what's true is for me, for a long time, I was not good at marketing. It's the opposite. So I would just, like, I could prospect 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. I'd list 150 homes a year. I was just a machine. I created systems where I could throw them over my shoulder, highly profitable, 58% profit margins. I took 50% of everything I earned and dumped it into things that paid me money. Okay, that works. What's also true, the inverse is true, right? So if you're not a good marketer, you have to become a good salesperson. If you're not a great salesperson, you have to become a good marketer. Now, here's where it becomes dangerous, Pace. Now you are a rock star at both. That's where it gets lights out, right? Like, now it's not even fair, because now with the marketing, you're going to come to me and I'm going to close you. And what's also true is that I can talk to people that I don't know and close them too.
Right. Man, I love this business. You know, yes. I was pulling weeds in my backyard one day. Similar situation to probate. I focused on probate for about 2 years, but a little bit different of a model than you did. What I did is I went directly to the attorney. And the reason I did this is because as an investor, I realized I was pulling weeds in my backyard. I was listening to a podcast about probate, and they said, yeah, you got to bring value to them. I went, bring value, bring value, bring value. What the hell? I hate the ambiguity of bring value. Tell me something specific. And they didn't say anything specific. So I sat there and I go, man, I've been a contractor for 10 years. What value could I bring to somebody? And I had this light bulb moment where I said, why don't I just call probate attorneys, who I understand probate attorneys are constantly dealing with the estate. They're doing referrals to painters. They're doing referrals to pet removal companies and fire remediation and all that kind of stuff. The family that's going through probate is like, hey, attorney, do you have a referral? Do you have a this? Do you have a estate sale person? Do you have a this? Do you have that? So I came up with this idea, and I did this for about 2 years, where I would call the attorney. I'd say, can I pay you a consulting fee? I'm thinking about starting a probate services company where I'd basically do all of the things a probate company or a family going through probate needs. And I'd love to just pay you for a consult. Can I come in and tell you all the things I do, and you let me know if I'm missing anything, since you're dealing with us all the time? I probably took 7 meetings in my entire life. I met with every single attorney. They never charged me, because as I left, they're like, you will take care of all the paint, the this, the that, the da, 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 da. So the first one I ever met was a guy named Ryan. And Ryan, I go into his appointment Friday, and I tell him everything that I do. I'm a probate services company. This is what I'm thinking about doing. He goes, oh, this is cool. This is cool. I go, yeah. Do you have any clients that need this? And he says, no, not right now, but I'll let you know. I get a call the next day and it's an unknown number. I pick up the phone. I go, hey, who? This is Pace. Who's this? This is Ryan, man. This is Ryan. I really need you right now. I go, Ryan, who? Ryan, the attorney you met yesterday, the probate attorney you met yesterday. I go, what's up, man? Why are you calling? Am I in trouble? You know, because we have this stigma in our brains about attorneys. He goes, no, my locksmith doesn't work on Saturday because he's Jewish and I need a locksmith like right now. And I go, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I can help out. What's going on? He goes, I told a client, I lied to a client. I told them that their house was already rekeyed. The lockbox is on the house. They inherited the property. They live in California. They're driving to Arizona right now. And they want to go in and look at the property. I go, no problem. I can take care of it. Guys, I pull out my drill. I go down to the house. This is literally like 7 years ago. This is not that long ago. I go down to the house. I meet the seller, or in my mind, they're a seller. Right? The probate attorney is thinking they're just a client. I'm looking at them as a seller of a home, somebody who owns a house. So I rekey the property. I'm standing there. I rekeyed it myself. I drilled out the locks, bought new hardware. I spent like 60, 70 bucks at Home Depot, got a lockbox on it. And the clients pull up to the house. I go, here's your keys. And I go, hey, I just want to let you know, I just did this. So there's metal shavings everywhere. I apologize. I'll clean this up. And they go, oh, well, Ryan said that this was already done. I go, yeah, it's my fault. I told Ryan that I did this a week ago and I didn't. And I'm so sorry. He told me you were coming in town. I'm glad that I got it done. And they go, wow, that's really cool. Thank you so much. Okay, great. No problem. And then I say, what are you guys planning on doing at the house? I've got a lot of investors that are looking for a house like this. What are you guys doing with the house? They go, well, we don't want to deal with this. I go, well, what's a number you guys would? Anyway, I get this deal under contract that day. I assign it the next day for 30,000 bucks. I get a call from Ryan on Monday and Ryan goes, what the hell did you do? I go, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I got the house under contract and I ended up wholesaling. He goes, no, that's fine. They told me they sold the house to you. That's great. I love that. You told them that you were the reason why that house wasn't rekeyed. Why did you do that? I go, I just didn't want to make you look bad. I wanted to take it on my, like, what does it matter if I look bad? I don't want you to look bad. They're paying you. Ryan and I did like 70 deals in the next 24 months. He sent me every probate client that he could, right? Some of them have different situations going on, but the ones that he could persuade, typically the ones that were out of state and didn't want to deal with the property, he just gave them to me. This is how we have a fleet of cars. We have guns. We have all these things because we just bought these houses through probate and got all the things inside the house. And I'm sitting here looking at people going, guys, probate has always been, will always be one of the most unbelievable strategies to get these deals because these families are desperately motivated. They're like, I do not want to deal with this at all. You know, Ryan, I never called the clients directly because I felt like everybody else was calling the clients directly in probate. I always worked with the attorneys. However, here's where I screwed up. I built such great relationships with these attorneys that when I started scaling and I could not be the one handling their clients personally, it ruined everything.
Yeah, because they wanted to deal with you.
They wanted to deal with me. It's like a turn. And if I pass one of my employees, it was Anna, ironically, the girl that John Boehm ended up telling me to hire, I would say, hey, Anna, call Ryan. Hey, Anna, call Giancarlo. Hey, Anna, call Rylis Dana. And they would be like, what's up, bro? Like, you're too good for me now? Like, and then they started giving their clients to other people.
Yeah.
It was slow. It wasn't immediate. It was slow. And I lost that business. And it was a challenging thing. I was making probably $500,000 to $700,000 a year in assignment fees just doing probate deals with 3 attorneys. That's it.
Yeah, that's it.
You don't need every probate deal to make a killing, especially where you are. Holy crap.
Well, and that's a perfect example of how, we get paid to the level of our thinking. Right? So there was 2 sides to that coin. One is the attorneys. For me as an agent, you had a mechanism for getting in there. As an agent, I got to get past the gatekeeper and they don't want to talk to me. So I went straight to the family members.
Makes so much sense.
Because it was just more efficient because I can at least talk to people, right? And then I had to learn what to say and how to say it because it requires a high level of emotional intelligence, and finesse. You can't be like, hey, Pace, I saw Grandpa Jim died. Do you want to sell your house? Like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
Instead, it's like, hi, I'm looking to speak to Pace. I'm like, yeah. What's up, Pace? My name is Aaron Novello. I'm a local real estate agent here in wherever the property is. And I specialize in probate and estate sales of real property. I was reaching out to you this morning because my head researcher pointed out to me that very shortly, if not already, you will be appointed the personal representative in the, forgive my pronunciation, Morby estate. And I realize, Pace, I do sincerely that I may be a little premature in some way. I was calling very respectfully, of course, with regards to the real property on 1265 Banana Street, simply just to find out if ultimately the goal and objective of yourself, and it looks like Susie and John and, Timothy, your siblings, at some point was to get that home on the market and to get it sold. And then quiet and see what they say. They're only going to say a couple things, guys. One is, we're not going to sell it. Two is, we're not sure yet. Right? Or three, we got to wait to see what the attorney says. If they say they're not going to sell it, great. Well, first of all, I appreciate your willingness to share that, under the circumstances. I want to be clear, my job's to help. It's never to talk you into doing anything. So it sounds as though even if you had an offer right now that was, very reasonable, realistic, that was cash closed in 3 weeks, no contingencies, you're not selling it, and your plan is to keep it forever. Notice I'm slamming the door shut. And they'll say, yeah, we're going to keep it forever. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. My condolences for the family's loss. I wish you the best of luck. And then you do, you know what you do, guys? This is a Novello saying. You ready? You MTFO. You know what MTFO is?
Move the F
fuck
on. Yeah.
Move on. Okay.
It's a breadcrumb. It leads to the thing. Like, move on. Move to the next breadcrumb. Next.
If they say, well, we're not sure what we're going to do next, Aaron. Well, I appreciate your willingness to share that, Pace. The more you're willing to share, the better equipped I am to provide you with information that could be helpful or useful in some way. The reason that I ask is, we have the good fortune of helping a lot of families in the same circumstance overcome the challenges that are associated with the dynamic. And I do oftentimes find that when families are undecided and just deciding what to do, and either way is fine, Pace, whether to sell or not to, oftentimes it can be very helpful or useful for them to get a clear, realistic picture in terms of value. So in other words, and I'm very clear it is an if you did decide to sell in its current condition in the current market, what would be top dollar and net bottom line what the proceeds would be to you and your siblings? Do you think that could be helpful or useful to you and your family? Shh. Quiet. They'll probably be like, well, yeah, that could be pretty helpful. Okay, good. And I oftentimes find as well, I don't know if this is applicable for you guys, if you've addressed it or if it's even an issue. Sometimes families can use some help or assistance, whether they decide to sell or they don't, with some of the contents, things like estate sales, getting stuff cleared out, donate to local charities, or some light handyman work to prepare the property either to keep or to sell. Do you think any of that, Pace, at some point could be helpful or useful to you in some way? Yeah, that'd be fantastic. That'd be awesome. Okay, well, just by you saying that demonstrates that we should get together and discuss the options. May I make a suggestion? And then what? Shut up. Yeah, go ahead, Aaron. Well, based on what you've been kind enough to share with me, I'm hearing a couple things from you very, very clearly. The first one is that you're not sure what you're going to do next. And that's okay. My job's to help you. It's never to talk you into doing anything. The second thing I'm hearing from you is that the more information that you can gather right now, as far as realistically what you could expect to receive if you did decide to sell and some of these ancillary services that could be helpful or useful, the better equipped you'll be, Kyle, so you can make a decision that you feel is best when the time is right. So what I'd like to do is this, and I really wouldn't mind. I have a lot of clients that aren't local, just like you. And what we do initially is we schedule a very simple 10, maybe 15-minute, no obligation whatsoever, phone or Zoom appointment where we can see each other. And what I'll show you is a couple things. Number one, what would be top dollar? I'll show you a net sheet what the proceeds would be. I could share with you some of these ancillary services that could be helpful or useful. And then at least this way, whatever you decide to do, Tiffany, whether you decide to sell or you don't, you'll have all the information you need so you can make the decision that you feel is best for you and your family. Does that sound fair? That's all that is, guys. Rinse and repeat over and 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 over again.
Love it. Aaron, you're amazing, dude. The new friendship is amazing. Super grateful for it. And to just think, I've been following you on social media for 3 or 4 months. You've been doing a great job on that. You're going to blow up in a big, big way. I promise you that.
Well, I appreciate your kind words. The other thing that I'm super appreciative of is just the opportunity to share. I'm aware that you've spent a lot of time, energy, and effort building a platform, which is evident for all the humans that give you access to their thinking. And I know you don't take that very lightly. So I'm appreciative of the opportunity to share with your community.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, we very rarely bring in special guests because of that. And I respect you at a very high level. Thank you so much. Guys, do Aaron a favor. He's putting a lot of time and energy into social media. Take a screenshot, tag him on social media, take a screenshot, put it on your Instagram stories, tag him, follow him. What is your Instagram handle, Aaron?
Yeah, it's at Aaron Novello. Very
simple.
Yep.
Follow him. What do you have going on? What kind of events, masterminds, what kind of stuff you have coming up that people, especially in Florida, that could, our community has about 1,500 people in Florida.
Yeah.
So they're really local. They could drive a couple hours, come hang out with you, see what you're up to.
Love that. So I do once a month, I do live trainings for our kind of team local here of agents on a range of topics, whether it be skills, handling objections. We're doing one on business planning, the pre-qualification, things of that nature. And we're also doing a gala in January where the elite builders, I've been with EXP. I used to own part of a Keller Williams office. I sold it back in order to participate in the opportunity with EXP. I've attracted 212 agents in 17 months to the organization. And we're doing our first gala where everybody's flying in.
Wow.
And we're going to have some dope speakers. It's going to be really awesome. So, anything that I can do to help or to serve the community. What I realized from our last live stream pace is that I think that investors or wholesalers and agents think that they're like a different species from different continents. And the truth is that we're more alike than we are different.
Oh man, we are so alike.
And instead of, kind of, I don't know, like talking about all the differences, we should be focused on the similarities and try to learn from one another. Because truthfully, many agents could learn from you, Pace, and a lot of people in this room about thinking creatively. And many of you guys can learn from me on how to be a rock star salesperson.
All day.
Because we're in the same game, right? So I know that my life has changed dramatically when I stopped looking at everybody as competition, but instead I looked at them as collaborators. And that's how I view it. So if I can help or be of assistance in some way, like I'm here to help out in any way that we can. I have a coaching program, we have mastermind groups, all this other stuff. But the goal and objective is the way that I view what we're doing is kind of like a ministry, which is like the more people that we can get in proximity to, just like you, Pace, the more people you can change their life in a positive way. And if I'm greedy for anything, do you know what I'm greedy for, guys? My name being in somebody's testimony. That's the thing that I'm most greedy for. And the cool thing is, Pace, is you have thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people that your name will be in their testimony, which is dope.
Yeah. I love that quote from Jim Rohn talking about that. It's one of the greatest gifts of all time. The emotional income that comes from that is there's nothing better. It's I've never done heroin, but I imagine it's very similar. It's like the greatest feeling. Somebody saying, I quit my job because of you. I quit my wife. My wife doesn't have to work anymore. Hey, we're having another baby because we can afford it. Those types of things, all the way down up to people saying, man, I'm worth $20 million in rentals because of you, those types of things. So, this is obviously a very private Zoom. This is a private community. I also chose to stream to YouTube as well, just to give you a little bit of love. But guys, follow him on Instagram, give him some love, tag him, put him on an Instagram story and just say thank you to him. We always lead with an attitude of gratitude in this community. Obviously, we already know that. Aaron, I'd love, bro, anytime you have an agent thing, you want me to bring me and my attorney out. I have an attorney that helped write the Dodd-Frank Act years and years and years ago, and we collaborate on creative finance stuff. If you ever have agents, you want to get into a room and we talk about creative finance, I'd love to have you. I have a big event in April. We'll have 3,000 people at our community event. I would love to have you come and speak. I'll have my team reach out, see if we can book you. It's going to be in Orlando in April, so it won't be far for you.
Love it.
It'll be the largest, not just creative finance, but just investor event that I've ever seen. Bigger Pockets this year, 2,700 people. We'll have 3,000 people in Orlando. So I'd love to have you out. So thanks again, man. I appreciate you tremendously.
Love it, brother. I appreciate you equally as much. I appreciate, the opportunity to share and look forward to further collaboration and, sharing each other with each other's communities.
Very cool. Thank you, brother. Have a good night.
Let's go. Let's grow. Talk to you soon.
Hey guys, that was great. How good is Aaron? Did you guys enjoy that? New friend of mine. Very, very new friend of mine. Just been impressed with the work he's been doing for agents. Guys, if you believe it or not, he's an agent. Right? Most agents are not like that. He is the gap. He's the person filling the gap between investors and agents, in my personal opinion. And I love the message he shares. He also teaches people how to prospect like wholesalers and prospect like investors. I've never met, besides Monique Walker, who is unbelievable, I've never met an agent that actually prospects like that. So it's a lot of fun. It's fun to see the similarities between all of us and how we have a lot to learn from each other. So, by the way, I have people asking about the event. Who's coming to the event in April? Do we have, let's see if we have that link. It will be the greatest community event we've ever done. It will be in April. And also, guys, on November 22nd, we're doing the largest charity drive this community has ever seen. We're working with Family Promise. Let's see if I have that link for you guys so you guys can participate in that. I'm flying to LA to do this, which is really, really cool. Let's see here. This event with Jamil and myself. Okay, here we go. This is the one I want to push on. Let me do a little screen share with you guys so you guys can see this. Hang tight with me for just a couple minutes, guys. Sub 2 gives thanks. So whether you're top tier TC, you're Gator, you're in Sub 2 or Astro, we are working with Family Promise on the 22nd. We already have volunteers from all over the country to be doing the largest real estate driven, community driven charity drive anybody's ever done in real estate. Let me give you guys the link in the side chat. We are looking for people to participate. Just bring donations, not money. We're not looking for money. We're looking for people to bring like jackets and shoes, etc. We're helping families that are on the verge of homelessness. And I put a video in Sub 2 Facebook group, but Facebook hates when I put certain things in Facebook, so it took it out. I'll send out an email to everybody about it. But Sub 2 gives thanks is what we're calling this. And this is amazing. I want to let you guys know, if you want to come to the Golden Ticket event in February 7th, the Golden Ticket event is going to be happening again. We're bringing it back. We haven't done it for over a year. The Golden Ticket event, the only way to get into the Golden Ticket event is to participate in this charity event. If you're a leader in this charity event, you automatically get a Golden Ticket event. You get a Golden Ticket. If you are selected by your leader in the charity, we're going to let every leader choose 4 to 6 people to come to the Golden Ticket event in February at my office, spend the day in the office, do implementation, working with each other. Last Golden Ticket event we had 600 people come out. It's completely free. It's all the leaders collaborating with each other from the collective community. So if you guys are participating in that charity, you will get a ticket if you get selected by your leader. I think we have all the leaders. Oh, I love it. I love when I can see the people leaving. They're like, oh, this isn't for me. I'm out. Like, they can't hang out for 4 minutes. I love it. So good. How many people are going to be coming to that event? The Sub 2 gives thanks. How many people are going to be helping us out with that? Awesome. We're going to be sending out an email update on that in the next day or two. And then tomorrow, guys, please be aware. I think this training was amazing. Aaron crushed it. I personally think tomorrow's training called Bridging the Gap is going to be the best Zoom, the best training that you guys have ever seen. It will be so good. It is a very basic topic, but it is something so many people in this community need. So show up tomorrow afternoon. I'll be hanging out for 2 hours. Me and Molly will be running a Zoom tomorrow. That Zoom is tomorrow at 5 p.m., I think, Nisha. You can always check the Sub 2 calendar. It's 5 to 7 p.m. tomorrow. Okay, 5 to 7 p.m. Arizona time. And it will be an unbelievable training that you will never forget. Appreciate you guys tremendously. Yes, I will upload the Zoom, Aaron's Zoom to the Zoom Vault. Make sure you guys take a couple of minutes, go over to Aaron on Instagram and just thank him. Let him know how much you appreciate, how much work and effort he put into his practice for years and years and years and years. Give him some flowers. Let him know. Let him know how much you appreciate him. That was dope. He crushed it tonight. He performed like a professional. Go and love on him. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.